Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, one people together.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For long now, generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses EDDIE-FICATION to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through EDDIE-FICATION, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, he can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, skills and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This is going to be epic, if I may say so myself. But then again, I promise you that every week and you are never disappointed. So let's have some fun today. Remember, as soon as you come into the room, the magic thing for you to do is to share. Share, and get yourselves ready for this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience you're about to have today. So let me just say, welcome to Edification 231, as we continue to navigate the storms of life. And these storms, of course, attempt to attack our very beings, which, if we do not ignite singular focus in us for growth to happen, we can be totally endangered as a civilization that was on the verge of extinction. Don't you remember that? On account of our very omissions over the years. Folks, it is really and truly a plum-pleasing pleasure to be with you once more. I know how to be thankful for life, because I tell you something, at my age, based on how many people have been dying and how young people have been dying, some of you are very fortunate to reach my age. So I give thanks every day for waking up and being on top ground, so to speak, above ground. And that's why I'm loving it. So let us remember, as I said, to share this life. You see, folks, it is because of our refusal over the years to pay attention and our lack of consciousness, we end up giving way to the greatest con that ever passed through Grenada as leader, who enlisted lieutenants of like minds to rape the state while throwing scraps for supporters and followers, cult members in other words. Unfortunately, for these followers, these cult members, they're so stunted in their development, that up to now they mix up kakapool for foul egg. Such people do not realize that if they actually go to the strip club, they will believe the strippers really like them and lose it all. You see, goodly folks, as soon as you come into the room today, please share, comment, love, and just interact as you usually do. Great to have you again. Let's keep this community going and growing. Of course, we must start with the interpretation of angel number 231, which is of course a powerful message from the angels that speaks of balance, creativity, self-expression, new beginnings, and opportunities. It is a sign that you're on the right path in life, and the universe is in alignment with your goals. Our topic for today, folks, salacious. It is on your day off that the devil gets to work. This is so true. The people of Grenada, by either their omissions, through not paying attention over the years, on one hand, and on the other, lack of consciousness, greed, indigence, and of course, laziness to even think, which resulted in expressed dunceness over the years, caused the birth and seeming prosperity of a kleptocracy and kakistocracy through dishonest means to thrive from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. You see, we see people like Ali Mathura, Christopher Julian, Blash, Sawandi Fabio Sam, Akim, Diane Mason, Nollian Brathwaite, Alvis Kojo, and countless others, of course, just to name a few devoted loyalists to a better Grenada through proper leadership, always standing in the gap to defend against the nonsense of the inferiors on the other side, who are of the gutter level and who obey the command of Satan's grandson to spout lies and obviously unthought of nonsense, which when they receive the stern pushback, they quickly move on to the next lie. That is how busy the devil in Grenada could be if these people, and by extension, every freedom-loving Grenadian, takes a day off. You see, we who would love to see structure and order reintroduced to life in Grenada once again, so that it brings us back to life as we knew it, would be foolish to sit back and allow these lumpen eater food nastinesses, germinated and nurtured by that old nastiness himself, to continue to run amok, to take us along their inferior path with them. Interestingly, one does not have to look too far. Don't look too far and deep to compare the actual social DNA of all associates of these green beasts to see what a wonderful match they all are indeed. Head is a thief, lieutenants are thieves at the lower level, and the spots of kleptomaniacs in between, who target their prey well to borrow money from and otherwise trust down people's stuff from their stores, their groceries, and what have you, with absolutely no intention of repaying the borrowed sum or paying for the goods acquired. These are the people that support the kleptocracy. What a match made in heaven indeed. Could you imagine? These are the people in whose hands a careless majority allowed to run amok the precincts of power for so goddamn long in Grenada. No wonder a known thief is now regarded as smart instead of by his or her right name, old thief. Goodly folks, the phrase, "it's on your day off, the devil gets to work," suggests that when you let your guard down or take a break or even become complacent, that's when trouble or temptation can arise. It emphasizes the idea that challenges or negative influences can sneak in when you least are prepared or least vigilant. Essentially, it is a warning to stay mindful even during moments of relaxation or downtime, as that's when you're most vulnerable to distractions or pitfalls. You see, the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? This reflects a mindset of constant vigilance and determination, folks. It suggests that if those with harmful intentions or negative influence are always active, like those lumpens we see on or hear on radio, and we would see from time to time regular social media lives, then good people, or those striving for positive outcomes, must remain equally committed and relentless in their efforts. I know I'm committed. Stop meeting me and telling me, if we could only get another 10 like you, Grenada would be straightened out. Why not be one and lessen the number to be obtained? Stop waiting for others to do your dirty work for you, while you hypocritically join others to help bad talk the same ones who are sacrificing to stand in the gap for you. You see why I pulled back from general society? Because I'm all too familiar with your type and prefer to choose peace over mixing with among you. You see the statement, the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? Encourages persistence and hard work, implying that taking a break could give evil forces an advantage, and in our case, see them return once more. It's a call to stay focused and proactive in the face of any level of adversity. You see, the evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. This quote references the famous line from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar and means that the harmful actions or negative impacts people leave behind to have a lasting effect, while their good deeds are often forgotten after they die. It is a reflection of how negative legacies often outlive positive ones, suggesting that the consequences of evil actions can persist long after the person is gone. Look how Satan's grandson is not even dead mortally as yet. And though dead politically, save and except for the life cult members and followers continue to give him, just take a look at the tumultuous negatives conjured up among the majority of sensible Grenadians when Satan's grandson's name is called, just because he does not have a concept of enough. You see, as Patrick Lumumba said, no matter how good you are, if you stay for too long, you spoil it. A good dancer must know when to leave the stage. You see, the phrase, no good deed goes unpunished, suggests that despite one's good intentions or efforts to help others, those actions may result in negative consequences for the doer. It reflects a sense of irony and cynicism, implying that good deeds are sometimes met with ingratitude, misunderstanding, or unintended backlash. I have been a victim of all, and yet I proceed to do good, even though these days in a more carefully chosen way. In other words, even when someone acts selfishly, or selflessly rather, they might still suffer as a result of their good intentions. Look at how many Grenadians living abroad take their hard-earned earnings, pack barrel upon barrel, some of them sending 5 and 6 barrels a year for their relatives. And as soon as the economic downturn hit the US, prohibiting them from being able to be so giving anymore, or you hear all sorts of nasty comments being made by these enabled dependents, parasites in Grenada. Don't talk about when these people retire and they come back here and they can no longer give you barrel because they now live here. Some of them getting sick. And those same relatives who were recipients of barrels from these people and goodness from these people won't even visit them to give them a glass of water, won't even pass to see how they're doing. Folks, a lot of you know what I'm talking about. But that's a phenotype that supports a certain political regime, a certain political kind of thinking. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Rape country. Have nothing to offer. But they're right there. Folks, you people outside there in the diaspora, you better smarten up. Because you did not mean to create enablers out of them and dependents, but you have. Go to any workplace and you could tell the difference between a person who receives barrels and a person who does not, just by their behavior on the job. The barrel receiver, I don't have to work, my family go take care of me. You can talk to me how you want, you see? Hello, you see? And that's not your intention out there, Your intention is to give them a bump in their standard of living and quality of life. But you see how they're behaving? Ungrateful. They don't care. They don't care. You see, folks, And the person who does not get barrel has a better work ethic. You know why? Because he know where to turn. So he better try and make it on his own. Satan's grandson teaches us that the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? It is on your day off the devil gets to work. So what's my advice to you? Study your head. Let's take a little break and we'll come right back with some juicy stuff, folks, because I have a lot more to share.
Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftop and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Going up,
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
I like what Sawandi just said there, folks. And this is the week for after carnival borrowing. And guess what? With no intention of repaying. So study among your head when all you're lending. Because most of these people have no intention of repaying you. Bad mind. I never thought I would live to see our civilization sink so low. You see, it becomes so cult-oriented that the cult leader, that old nastiness, created that we have that malady to live with today. Folks, welcome back. Share the live. For those of you just joining, welcome. It's a plumb pleasing pleasure to have you. What is really meant by it's on your day off, the devil gets to work? Let's look at this a little bit more closely. You see, the phrase, it's on your day off, the devil gets to work, carries a profound meaning about vigilance, temptation, and complacency. While it can be interpreted literally to suggest that trouble arises when you take a break, it more often implies that during moments of rest, relaxation, or even distraction, one is most vulnerable to negative influences. Whether these influences come in the form of temptation, misjudgment, or missed opportunities, the phrase serves as a reminder that staying alert and mindful is crucial, even during times of ease. Don't ever make the mistake of taking the enemy, the devil that is, for granted. Remember, Grenada has its own personal devil, you know. Satan grandson, that old nastiness. And you can't take a day off because all that nastiness has done for his entire political life is stay awake to plot mischief, to keep most of you poor and vulnerable, dump you on the vote farm, give you a mess of pottage, scraps off the table to make you feel he love you as a form of maintenance. And when you check yourself, 10 years pass, no progress in your life, and you're supposed to GROW in your life. Get rid of weaknesses. But instead, he immobilizes you by manipulating you, keeping you perpetually weak so you cannot grow. And you're mistaking that caca pool for foul egg. Let's take a brief look at the nature of complacency, folks. You see, at the heart of this phrase, which is, it's on your day off, the devil gets to work, lies the danger of complacency. When individuals take time off from their responsibilities or lose their focus, They often lower their guard, believing that nothing can go wrong. However, it is precisely in these moments of comfort and relaxation that the devil, which is a metaphor for trouble, evil, temptation, or misfortune, may strike. In our own case here in Grenada, the devil is not a metaphor, as we are known to have developed our own true devil through negligence. And he's today known as Satan's grandson, that old nastiness. For example, a person might take a break from their disciplined routine, whether that be in terms of work, health, or ethical behavior, only to find that on their laps in vigilance, problems were allowed to arise. You see, this could manifest as indulging in unhealthy habits, missing out on important opportunities, and becoming as, entangled in situations that otherwise would have been avoided if one had remained watchful, vigilant, in other words. In this sense, complacency opens the door for negative consequences to emerge. You see why singular focus is important in your life, folks? Come on! You see, the phrase also speaks to the idea that temptation is most potent when one is not actively engaged in their usual routine or discipline. You see, when individuals are not busy or distracted by their normal responsibilities, they may become more susceptible to harmful impulses or negative behaviors. You see, the day off here can be seen as a metaphor for any moment of pause, where a person may feel they deserve a break and thus let their guard down, making them more vulnerable to the devil's temptations or to be gobbled up by the fangs of our own Satan's grandson, in other words. You see, this is particularly relevant in situations involving ethical dilemmas or even self-discipline. For instance, someone who takes a day off from a strict diet or commitment to avoid certain behaviors may find that it's during this break that they are most tempted to indulge in what they know is harmful or wrong. The devil represents this temptation, waiting for the moment when one feels least inclined to resist. Not because the Deacon Mitchell administration is appearing to be on its way. Any of us decent Grenadians must rest on our laurels and take Satan's grandson and his goons for granted. That is what they would like. And so we always have to be at it with true vigilance to fend them off, because they ain't stopping. Remember what I encourage all of you to always say. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. Come on, folks, let's affirm that. Let's get that affirmed. Put that in the comment section. I'm helping you here with it. Come on, put it in the comment section. Keith gone and he not coming back. Drunk or sober, mind your business. Keith gone and he not coming back. Hashtag. You see, you must mean it like me. So when we throw that into the universe with strong belief, it can be truly manifested. That old nastiness. You see, some people misunderstand my rhetoric as hate. No, I will just not let you forget that that nastiness is not somebody you should ever allow to come back and pass through the precincts to help me around the precincts of power in this country anymore. He is gone. Let him stay gone, because he was never good for Grenada. What about missed opportunities and consequences? You see, the phrase can also be understood in the context of missed opportunities or negative outcomes that arise when one is not attentive. That's why we have to be attentive. In the pursuit of success, personal growth, or even any long-term goal, taking a break, especially a ill-timed one, can result in setbacks. The devil here symbolizes the consequences of not staying focused. In this interpretation, the phrase warns that rest, if not managed properly, can lead to missed opportunities or unexpected challenges. For example, an athlete who takes a break training may find that during their rest, competitors advance or their own fitness declines. In a professional context, someone who takes time off without maintaining awareness may miss critical developments or opportunities that could have advanced their career. The devil in this case refers to the unfortunate consequences of not staying engaged. So even when resting, you have to stay engaged. So you see, goodly folks, even in the meantime does not mean stop. It means prepare for the next level. Despite its seemingly harsh tone, folks, the phrase does not suggest one should never take a break or rest. Rather, it serves as a reminder of the importance of balance and mindfulness, even during times of relaxation. Rest and relaxation are essential for well-being, but the phrase emphasizes the importance of staying mentally engaged or prepared, even during downtime. The key is to rest without becoming careless and to recharge without losing sight of long-term goals or values. You see, downtime, folks, is the time you take to do nothing, which helps to disengage you from your focus. You have to be careful. People like me, just watching how you spend your downtime, can tell what your future will be, can tell how your life is right now, far less how your future is likely to be, simply because you are squandering your downtime. Your downtime is in the meantime, which you should be using to prepare for your next level. You see, the long-term goal here is Satan's must never see the halls of in and over Grenada ever again. And the values we want to uphold are personal honesty and integrity, so that if and when we gravitate to public life, we are also fit, not like the old thieves and scoundrels we allowed to run amok for so long, causing our civilization to dive into the pit of hell today. For instance, a person who practices self-awareness and remains mindful during their rest period will be less likely to fall into the traps of complacency or even temptation. They will be able to balance relaxation with vigilance, ensuring that they are prepared for any challenges that might arise, even when they are not actively working. Folks, that is me. And you should let that be your standard for operating too. In the broader sense, the devil in this phrase can represent any form of chaos, disorder, or negative energy that enters one's life when they become lax. Become lax and see if Satan's grandson ain't take among you over again, waiting for you to relax. Remember, they move from lie to lie to lie without losing enthusiasm. That is some courage for you. As soon as you catch them in one lie and you point it out, look how the next lie coming. These are the people that want to run your country, you know, folks. And you, who are green cult members, sit down there and you can't even realize that there's a problem with that. Remember that element, Satan's grandson, has nothing to lose and all to gain. Taking a rest will allow this poor example of a leader to lead you again. In modern society, distractions like procrastination, negativity, or bad influences that seep in when one is not vigilant and act as forces, derail progress, damage relationships, or even cause harm, if not kept in check. Folks, look at how the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, presented all three and hence the national stagnation, which many misunderstood for progress under the old nastiness. You see, in personal relationships, one might take a day off from being attentive or caring, only to find that this neglect opens the door to misunderstandings and conflicts. In financial matters, a day off from being cautious with spending would lead to poor decisions with lasting consequences. In societal matters, being careless with a day off can cause miscreants to seep in, and before you know it, could become your prime minister and foist his or her low standards on you, rendering you useless to yourselves and your society. In all these cases, the devil represents the negative outcomes that can arise when attention and diligence are absent. You see, the phrase, "it's on your day off, the devil gets to work," is a cautionary reminder of the importance of constant vigilance, even during times of rest or relaxation. It underscores the idea that temptation, trouble, and negative consequences often arise when we let our guard down and become complacent. While it is essential to rest and take breaks, the phrase teaches that it is equally important to maintain awareness and balance during these times, so as not to allow negative forces to take hold. In life, success and well-being often depend not only on hard work, but also on the ability to rest without losing focus on what matters most. Satan's grandson teaches us that the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? It is on your day off the devil gets to work. So folks, study your head. Take another short break and we come right back with more. Tell you all there's a lot more where this comes from.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftop and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, island in this land. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together. Make slowly up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful. And here we are, back again at it, because we have a lot of onions to fry. Folks, for those of you who are
I see today people inviting them to a meeting, they're afraid to come.
Oh Lord, sorry about that.
What is going on? What are you afraid of?
You all remember that?
God made you free. Don't let nobody take it. And look at who you're allowing to take your freedom. We're there. We were 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 there.
I'm sorry about that. That's just a continuation there. But it came on, and as we say, man, to hell with that, let it play. because that is so shameful. Don't even know how to speak the English language, but want to run country. Anyhow, as soon as you come in, share the live, folks. Share the live. Welcome back. Let us now take a peek at why and how parasitic politicians, deceptive leaders, prey on the unsuspecting. You see, throughout history, folks, societies have witnessed the rise of parasitic politicians, individuals who, despite their positions of power, operate with malicious intent. Isn't that unfortunate? Operate with malicious intent. And that is so true. So very true. Now, they manipulate and exploit the very people they are meant to serve. And the very people they're meant to serve, so many of them think they are helping them. Oh no. These politicians, though often cloaked in respectability and influence, are essentially individuals of no moral character who set out to deceive, manipulate, and fleece unsuspecting citizens. Their actions not only harm the immediate well-being of the people, but also erode the integrity of the overall political system. That old nastiness, mash it up. Join me and pay close attention as we explore the nature of these parasites that we allowed to gravitate towards our politics and become the parasitic politicians we have grown accustomed to, their tactics and long-lasting damage that they have inflicted on our society. Folks, a parasitic politician is one who uses his or her position not to serve the public, but to enrich themselves at the expense of the people they are supposed to represent. Doesn't that sound like the one in Diamond? Like parasites in nature, these individuals rely on their hosts. And who are their hosts in this case? You, the citizens. And of course, the resources of the state. They rely on those to sustain their own lifestyles while contributing little or nothing of value in return, because they have no substance, no standard, no order, no structure. So what are they going to offer? Folks, when you squeeze an orange, what do you get? The juice it has inside. You cannot get from an orange what it does not have inside. And that is why when these people assume positions of leadership and you entrust, this authority and responsibility to them, they cannot give you what they do not have. If they have no class, you will have a no class leader. I recall when Satan's grandson was booted out, he was not happy that it was costing him tens of thousands of dollars to sustain the multitude of beggars, entitled and dependent people that he created over the years and could not wait to get back in office so he could transfer to the state's resources to dish out their customary mess of pottage to maintain his vote farm, to keep all members, followers, and cult people happy. This time around, much richer than 10 years ago, Satan's grandson instead advised his other successful cons when members of the vote farm come to them crying trouble, don't give them anything. Let them feel the squeeze so they could hate the current government, which will make them vote for them and bring them back in office. Could you imagine? And these cult members think that little nastiness, that little old nastiness like them. You see, at their core, parasitic politicians are driven by self-interest. They often see public office as an opportunity to amass wealth, power, and influence, rather than as a means of contributing to the common good. Their behavior is marked by corruption, greed, and an utter disregard for the well-being of others. Instead of uplifting society, they drain it, using their authority to perpetuate their own interests while keeping others in a state of dependency and total ignorance. You see, having got rid of Satan's grandson around the precincts of power, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to not rest on our laurels, for then is when that devil will get to do his work. Don't forget that, folks. Don't forget that. Because Satan grandson, all Satan grandson waiting for is to come back to do some more of what he wasn't finished with. That's all. No good intention. Because Satan grandson do good. And he do good long. You see, parasitic politicians are often skilled manipulators, using deceit and false promises to win and maintain the trust of people. They tend to prey on the vulnerabilities and emotions of the public, exploiting fears, hopes, and needs to garner support. We are seeing this more and more today, and hence the need to remain vigilant and not take a day off for fear that such devils take advantage of your inactivity. Their methods include populist rhetoric, promising grand reforms, criticizing very good things their replacement has done and continues to do, twisting truths to fool the unsuspecting masses while having nothing to deliver themselves. They use empty promises to secure votes or sway public opinion, only to abandon their pledges once they are in power, because they're in power to cut deals, something we are all too familiar with from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. You see, in many cases, parasitic politicians use propaganda to control the narrative, presenting themselves as champions of the people while hiding their true dark motives. They manipulate the media, reducing them to a darn joke they have become among us, when nobody takes mainstream media seriously for a minute. They distort facts and create a false image of themselves as benevolent leaders, when in truth and in fact, they are only thieves, cons, who have gone totally wrong while dominating the political landscape. This deception makes it difficult for ordinary people, folks, to see through their lies, allowing them to continue their exploitative behavior unchecked. It's moreover, parasitic politicians often foster division within society, using identity politics, scapegoating, and fear-mongering to pit different groups against one another, and even promoting this town and country nonsense. We hear it and we see it all the time. You could belong to one country, and you will have people talking about, he from tongue, he's a tongue man, this one is a country boy. That is in itself is a what? An establishment of dunceness. People from one country are supposed to behave so. That is the epitome of dunceness. You don't behave like that. But pitting each other, one against each other, talk this country and tongue nonsense. You see, folks, we have to start checking ourselves. You see, by creating an us versus them mentality, they distract from their own corruption and incompetence, directing public frustration away from themselves and toward invented enemies. But that has a way, that is rather the way of the cult, which gets its members to follow an old thief in a blind way, while attributing all their sins to a new and sanitized leader. Could you imagine that? a successful corporate lawyer, pivoted from there, having reached the pinnacle of his success in the profession, to come to help rescue Grenada. And all they could do is to make up gutter talk on this decent success story, causing cult members to look at him as a demon when the demon is their leader, totally ignoring his own inception into politics, totally ignoring that he came to politics having been caught with his hands in the greater shipping agents' cookie jar. You see, folks, we have to start understanding. You see, when members of a cult could follow anybody, whether it is an old Jeptic, an old thief, an old whatever, tells you something about the people following. So, having got rid of Satan's grandson around the precincts of power, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to not rest on our laurels, for then is when that devil will get to do his work. You see, one of the most damaging effects of parasitic politicians is the siphoning of the public resources for personal gain. They often engage in corruption, embezzlement, nepotism, diverting government's funds intended for public service infrastructure and welfare programs into their own pockets via the hands of their cronies, whom they give contracts in areas that these people have no knowledge or concern. These actions not only rob the people of essential resources, but also lead to the degradation of vital services, such as education. Look at education today. Look at healthcare, and have the guts, having been there from 1995 to 2022, for the most part, to talk about people dying at the hospital. Who killing them? Go and see who employed the people that the people under whose hands the people dying. Who employed them? When they started to want orderlies and people in the kitchen and whatnot, where they came from? One MP in the 15-0 construct just pick up any old people, anybody, and pell them in the hospital. You expect people are not properly placed in a place of care, a place that requires care, and you just pick up any old ram goat and put inside there. What do you expect? What kind of service do you expect? What do you expect? And then you had, for the most part, 18 months of a wasted leader under the new construct. What do you expect? Healthcare, folks, is not sexy. It will take the length of time that it was ignored. Trust me, it might take a matching length of time to correct it. All of you who were negligent over the years, you said nothing while it was going downhill, sliding down the gutter, down into the pits of hell. You said nothing. Now it starts to affect you. You want to blame this new 2-year-old administration. You see something wrong with all you? Something wrong with among you. Yes, it needs correcting. And as soon as, if the government were to take drastic steps to correct it, all of you talking about victimization and Well, take the cutlass people and all the water boots people that you have to take care of you. Take the people that can't read and write. Take the consequences of it and shut up. Because it needs drastic steps to change it. It needs drastic steps. But you'll hear the union. Imagine all the time they were hushed up, so to speak, with favors and emasculated by an administration that had no care for workers. You get one now that is showing evidence, hard evidence on the ground to show that they care about workers. And they're plotting and making all kind of mischief. You ain't see is the last one that is good for them in truth. The last one said, remember the old nastiness said in the earlies, he will unmask the masked men? Well, he did. Satan's grandson had the power and he unmasked all the masked men in Grenada, emasculating them, bringing them down to nothing. So you have to speak when you're talking about them now, you know. Could you imagine you gave all your life to a movement and you end up with no legacy? Just people don't even want to hear your name. That's where we reach. But you have a government that working in the interest of the workers, and instead what you're hearing, contrived nonsense. Sometimes you wonder if these people are just not stray bullets that probably were never formed properly, because it's like they don't have a brain. Today they're hot, tomorrow they're cold. And they just, they're all over the place, all over the place. Rubbish, nonsense. You see, I could afford to talk like this. They say a man that can speak his mind freely that has reached what you call a dangerous level of freedom. And you know why? The things that concern a lot of you people by way of wanting friends, and I don't want to offend this one and offend that one. Let me tell you something. I've been through the worst already. And my standard of living and quality of life never was compromised. I may not have excess, but I continue to live. You know why? Because I was brought up a word that has always been my guide: contentment. Contentment. As long as I could bathe and put on clean clothes, contentment will do the rest for me. You see, all these things that I'm talking about here, folks, all these things I'm talking about, that these parasitic politicians who are nothing but corrupt, involved in embezzlement, nepotism, diverting government funds intended for public services, infrastructure and welfare programs into their own pockets via hand of their cronies, whom they give contracts in areas that these people, these cronies, have no knowledge or concern. These actions not only rob the people of essential resources, but it leads to the degradation of vital services such as education, healthcare, and public safety. All three totally disregarded by Satan's grandson when he was the ruler. For instance, in countries plagued by parasitic leadership, development projects often go unfinished. Roads remain in disrepair. The healthcare system collapses under the weight of mismanagement and corruption, positioning people within every aspect of it who should not even be employed on a farm to take care of animals that will eventually be slaughtered. Citizens are left to bear the financial brunt of these failures, while the politicians responsible continue to live in luxury, often insulated from the consequences of their action. Folks, we have our own tropical Trump here, you know, we had our own tropical Trump here. This kind of political parasitism disproportionately affects the most vulnerable members of society, the poor, the elderly, and those with limited access to information. These citizens are often the most susceptible to the false promises of parasitic politicians. And they suffer the most when resources meant for them are stolen or misallocated. Having got rid of Satan's grandson around the precincts of power, folks, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to not rest on laurels, for then is when the devil will get to do his work. You see, perhaps the most insidious consequence of parasitic politicians is the erosion of public trust in the political system. You see, when citizens repeatedly witness politicians enriching themselves at the public's expense, it fosters a deep sense of disillusionment and cynicism. Over time, this undermines faith in democratic institutions as people begin to believe that all politicians are corrupt and that the system itself is rigged against them. Isn't this all too familiar here? And folks, that is why when I get vexed and I say what I say, I prove to you that I'm not on the market for friends, because we have people that we've been to school with who should know better and were brought up well, who followed this tropical Trump, this old nastiness, Satan's grandson, and followed for what? A mess of pottage, for what they could get, for rank, to be on board in perpetuity. You see some of them on 5 and 6 board. Eh? Come on, folks. You see, I could afford to say that, because they say a man that's not looking for friends and knows who his friends are already enjoys a dangerously high level of freedom. You see, in extreme cases, this disillusionment can lead to political apathy, where citizens stop participating in the democratic process because they feel their voices no longer matter. This apathy creates what? A vacuum in which parasitic politicians can operate, with even less accountability, further entrenching their powers. You see, as trust in the system wanes, deteriorates, democratic norms weaken, and authoritarianism or other forms of oppressive governance can take root. Folks, we saw that. This old nastiness, this little sukunya, used to try to bring people to their knees to support him. He used to try to hit people in their pocket to maim them, and you supporting that. Folks, I am not just the only victim. There are many, but I must be the only one speaking, the only one with the balls, the testicular fortitude to speak about it. And that is why, folks, my motive is to see to it, hashtag, Keith gone and not coming back. When I spread these words as often as I do, it is to educate you as to why you should keep away from that old nastiness, because he has no good intentions for you, nor nobody around him. He ain't good, and he ain't good long. You see, the long-term effects of this erosion of trust are devastating. When people no longer believe in the fairness or legitimacy of their government, social cohesion breaks down, and the potential for civil unrest, economic instability, political violence increases. Folks, we were on the verge of that if we did not get that change June 23rd, 2022, because people could not take anymore. Thus, the actions of parasitic politicians have far-reaching consequences, extending beyond immediate economic harm to threaten the very fabric of our society. Hey, having got rid of Satan's grandson around the precincts of power, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to not rest on our laurels, for then is when the devil will get to do his work. Folks, remember, when people cannot improve their argument, the quality of the argument, they shout. When they cannot match intellect, what do? They dive into the gutter to attack personally. I'm always prepared for that. And I don't care. I know me. And I don't care what anybody says about me, because remember what I told you, there's a vast difference between reputation and character. Character is who you are. Reputation is what people think of you. Remember, people doing the thinking are only trying to do what? Transpose who they really are onto you. Addressing the problem of parasitic politicians requires a concerted effort from all our citizens, civil society, and political institutions. You see, vigilance is key. Citizens must be informed and engaged in the political process, holding their leaders, whether cons or otherwise, accountable for their actions. This involves not only voting, but also participating in activism, Not staying on social media and throw words for people. That's not activism. That is Marcoism. That is throwing words. That is tabism. Activism is what I am doing here. Calling people out. Supporting independent media. Pushing for transparency and accountable, anti-corruption measures. It is a foregone conclusion that decent-minded, integrity-centered individuals who go into politics are few and far between. A majority take their cue from old nastiness, and who do not happen to possess the traits like the old nastiness all on their own. We therefore cannot afford to vote and then relax, thinking these crooks in the main will look out for us. Hell no. We have to keep them honest by making them account and take responsibility for their omissions and inactions. Folks who vexize their business. Legal frameworks are also, they also play what you may call a crucial role in curbing political corruption. Strong institutions that enforce the rule of law, prevent conflicts of interest, and ensure that public officials are held accountable can significantly reduce the influence of parasitic politicians. But we have to make sure these said institutions are not populated with parasitic operatives also. Excuse me. You see, anti-corruption agencies, independent judicial systems, and transparent auditing of public funds are essential tools in this fight. The Integrity Commission must not have any political goons among its ranks, whether in the office or on the board of directors, like we experienced here from the time it started until recently, with a splattering still remaining. Folks, look at how many people, over 100 people, have been confirmed now as properly trained, qualified directors for boards. When did that ever happen? All kind of water boots man and water boots woman, they just throw it because this one go look out for us, this one go look, and this one could do the extra $500, this one, just put this one. That's why them boards, all of them look alike. All of them boards end up looking like a piece of wood under the 1995 to 2022, for the most part, construct. You get a message? Now you have the government invited people. Hey, look at how many of them, over 100 of them, qualified. So you have proper people to go and sit on board now to plot good visions, to devise good missions, and to execute properly on behalf of these boards, because they now have to have what? Structure and order. You see, political parties and public institutions must prioritize leaders who demonstrate a commitment to public service and who act in the interest of the common good. This involves not only punishing corrupt individuals, but also rewarding those who exhibit genuine moral leadership. One punishment I would love to see enshrined in law: public flogging of parasitic politicians and state operatives who are caught and found guilty of crimes against the citizens, whether it is through enrichment or other forms of corruption. Parasitic politicians are a blight on society, preying on the trust, resources, and well-being of the people that they are meant to serve. Through deception, manipulation, and exploitation, they erode public trust, rob citizens of essential resources, and undermine the foundations of democracy. The effects of their actions are profound, leading to economic decline, social division, and political disillusionment. To combat parasitic politicians, it is essential for citizens, all of us, to remain vigilant, engaged, and informed. Strong institutions, transparent governance, and a commitment to ethical leadership are necessary to root out these destructive individuals and restore faith in our political system. Only through collective action and accountability can societies rid themselves of parasitic politicians and build a future that prioritizes the common good over personal gain. We know the process has started, as we can hear the entitled parasites and perpetually vulnerable dependents bawling loudly because they don't want to work. All they want to do is to sit down and allow the state to dole out goodies for them. Even in the private sector, they expect to be paid for just showing up and are not interested in converting their time spent on the job each day into a value, while they throw themselves at the mercy of their unions, who by extension and in the main encourage that behavior by actions of terrorism against employers who justly demand productivity from their employees. I said what I said. It is incontrovertible. That is why among you hate me, because you cannot contradict those things that I say as firmly and sternly as I share them. So what you do? You just hate that it's me saying it. And I don't give two hoots. Satan's grandson teaches us that the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? It's on your day off, the devil gets to work. Study your head now, man, and don't take no day off. Folks, we come back with our final segment. So, hold tight. Hold tight.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Yeah. 50 years we're blessed with much to buy. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 and going up, going up, going up, 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 up. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, 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 folks. I know you all like the Trump, eh? You never heard of that before. But that's how you have to call these people, because, folks, you just have to give them their right name, you know. Give them their right name. Tropical Trump. There's no other way you could call this old nastiness that we have here. How do you deal with deceitful, parasitic politicians? We must look towards and reflect on our civic responsibilities as a people. Folks, share the live. Come on. This is the final segment, and it will be as salacious as they come. In modern politics, deceit is not a new phenomenon, but its impact has grown more pronounced in today's hyper-connected world. You see, politicians those entrusted with representation and stewardship of the public's interests, as already established, often exploit their positions to deceive the electorate. Whether through misleading promises, manipulation of facts, or even outright lies, deceitful politicians erode the public's trust and harm the democratic process. We don't have to go far to realize this. Understanding how to deal with these figures is essential for preserving the integrity of democratic institutions and ensuring that power remains accountable to the people. Join me as we explore strategies that can be employed by us, the citizens, we, the people, to address deceitful politicians grounded in the principles of civic responsibility, critical thinking, and collective action. The importance of critical thinking. You see, if you cannot think critically, I would advise you to desist from being up front and center, discussing politics, for fear that your lack of capacity causes you to be limited by only what the crook you follow put out there. The simple way many of you interpret things and ventilate on social media shows you up time and time again as terribly wanting in the department of sense, and it pushes you further and further away from the quadrant of critical thinking. A key strategy for dealing with deceitful politicians is cultivating critical thinking among our people. You see, deceit thrives in environments where people accept information at face value without questioning its veracity or considering alternative perspectives. In this day and age of artificial intelligence, AI, one has to be so careful what one takes in and digests. Therefore, individuals must develop a habit of analyzing and scrutinizing statements, policies, and even actions, and more so of a political nature. This involves fact-checking information, being aware of confirmation biases, and seeking out multiple sources before forming an opinion, far less coming to a conclusion. You see, I am like that normally, and I'm sure I know I piss off a few of the people that I regularly discuss things with. Critical thinking empowers citizens to differentiate between rhetoric and reality. You see, politicians often use emotionally charged language to sway public opinion, but a critically minded citizen will look beyond surface level appeals to examine the substance of a politician's proposal. None of them can fool me. Those whom I have grown to despise and those whom I might be partial towards, none of them can fool me. For instance, when a politician promises drastic economic improvement without offering clear, feasible plans, critical thinkers will question the sustainability of such promises and investigate further. And that is how you will realize that it was a hoax to get your support. Hey, do you remember the claim that we have found oil and gas? That's a perfect example of trickery and tomfoolery, tolerated by a nation of simpletons for the most part. Even the way the old nastiness was saying it, you could see that it was a lie. But this has gone on here for all of the elections between 95 and 2022 for the most part. Yet for all our people got caught in that tangled web over and over again. You see, interestingly, many citizens got so accustomed to being fooled that they did not expect the new Deacon Mitchell administration to deliver on any of their campaign promises, as they grew accustomed to the lies of the greatest con to ever occupy the seat of national leadership, the kakistocrat, the lowest of all kinds, who is today safely referred to as Satan's grandson indeed. You can't call that old nastiness anything else. You just can't. You see, moreover, citizens must recognize the tactics used by inferior human beings posing as politicians to manipulate discourse. Misleading statistics, half-truths, and strategic omissions are common tools used by deceitful politicians. Pardon me. You see, understanding how these tools work allows voters to push back, ensuring that the truth is not buried under a mountain of spin by inferior spin orderlies. You notice the chosen word, eh? Spin orderlies, whose level of reasoning is so low that none can be referred to as spin doctors. You see, in a world where information is weaponized, critical thinking serves as a form of civic defense. We see one of the most direct ways to deal with deceitful politicians is through the ballot box. Elections are the ultimate mechanism by which citizens hold politicians accountable. However, for elections to be meaningful, voters must be well informed. They need to stay focused and not fall for distractions of the same deceitful politician or politicians who swindled them for years, becoming filthy rich and leaving them mostly poor and vulnerable, still claiming to love them, even though their life is over in poverty and vulnerability. Engaging in informed voting means going beyond sound bites and advertisement. Instead, investing time in understanding the platforms, past behaviors, and integrity or lack thereof of candidates. This requires active engagement with political debates, a thorough examination of the politicians' records, and an understanding of long-term implications of their policies or lack thereof. You see, when somebody gets through for so often, you of course, believing the lies that they tell you, they become smart to you. So you realize a crook now is defined as a smart person just because they con you. Unfortunately, folks, deceitful politicians often rely on the assumption that most voters are disengaged, uninformed, or just plain stupid. And in the case of Satan's grandson, that voters, don't worry them, man. They ain't paying attention. They capitalize on voter apathy by simplifying complex issues into digestible yet misleading narratives. To counteract this, voters must remain vigilant and resist the temptation to be swayed by mistaken charisma, populist rhetoric, gutter talk, or shallow policy proposals. Informed voting is not just a right, it is a responsibility that ensures that power remains in the hands of those who genuinely seek the betterment of society, rather than those who merely chase personal gain. Just go and count the number of campaign promises recorded in the new administration's manifesto that have been fulfilled thus far, and you are sure to see the difference between a good government, a good administration, and the one headed by the con of an old nastiness. You see, folks, another critical strategy for combating deceit in politics is supporting independent media through the several citizen journalism outfits that have presented worthy alternatives to the already compromised mainstream media. You know, the podcasters, the vloggers, the bloggers. Oh yes, very important. We need to be quicker as a people to fact check stuff. Let's Google. Either through Google, as we say, or referencing resourceful people who know truth and can provide clarification on important issues. You see, the media ought to play an essential role in holding politicians accountable, acting as a watchdog that exposes dishonesty and corruption. I cannot have a media outfit and have a most, how you call that? The lowest of lows, who could be a stringer or a reporter, an independent supplier of articles or whatever it is for my place. Knowing this person is persuaded in a particular direction and have that person writing for me or contributing to me. Hell no, not in today's enlightened days. I will quicker do without. I'll change my business plan. I will change my business plan. Yeah, I'm just not into this for just money. You understand what I'm saying? Our media here has ceased to be that watchdog a long time ago, especially within the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, and today reduce themselves to nothing. However, in recent years, the rise of partisan media outlets, more sympathetic to the National Nasty Party and Satan's grandson in particular, actively helping with the proliferation of misinformation, have made it increasingly difficult for citizens to rely on any of them and be able to discern the truth. You see, by supporting independent citizens' journalism, whether through subscription, donations, or simply sharing credible news sources, citizens can help sustain a press that prioritizes truth over political alignment. Fact-checking organizations, entities, and sources also play a crucial role in countering deceit. These organizations rigorously verify political claims, providing the public accurate information. Supporting these efforts and making use of their resources strengthens the collective ability to see through political deception. In fact, several citizen journalists with a vault filled with important videos and audio clips have been able to actually use evidence in Satan's grandson's own voice and own actualities to combat Satan's grandson's attempts to confuse citizens with nonsense, lies, and gutter talk. Could you imagine that? You using the same man, same person's voice and actualities to combat his current utterances. Or what kind of man is that? And all you're following that. You see something wrong with all you're retarded. You see, beyond voting and staying informed, citizens must also be willing to engage in direct civic action to confront deceitful politicians, push them into non-existence. This can take many forms, from peaceful protests to grassroots organizing, and from petitioning to public speaking. Stay awake now, man. Know that you know better and have voted for better to replace these deceitful elements who were lurking around the precincts of power for so goddamn long. Young people, come up front. This is your time, and stay up front. All those people who held you back are the ones that you are still allowing to stay in front. A lot of them need to be pushed aside, but you have to assert yourselves to take your rightful places. Collective action puts pressure on inferior, bad-minded politicians, demonstrating that their deceit will not go unchallenged and that there are consequences for betraying public trust. That's why I strongly believe that somewhere along the line we must make law to flog them publicly So anyone thinking of doing what they did will realize they will not get away with it. Bring them in the market and give them a public flogging, the cat o' nine. You see, when a politician is caught in a significant lie or is involved in a scandal, public demonstrations or campaigns calling for their resignation can force them out of office or lead to reforms in political oversight. You all remember the Restainer thing? That man had no decency. Caught red-handed, but will not go. Make damn money. I'm sorry, he didn't give me more. And all this commonness. And you all want to support that. That gutter snipe. That old nastiness. That is what you all tolerated around the precincts of power for so goddamn long. You see, furthermore, grassroots movements have the power to reshape political narratives, bringing issues of deceit and corruption to the forefront of public discourse. By rallying together, citizens can make it clear that dishonesty will not be tolerated. But citizens must not be dishonest themselves and beneficiaries of dishonesty at will, if this were to work. People want to promote transparency and accountability. You see, folks, promoting greater transparency and accountability within political is a long-term strategy for reducing the prevalence of deceitful politicians. Look at every time the green behavior individuals who have been voting for yellow over the years fall out with yellow because they can no longer pretend to be really yellow. Look at where they end up. Right where there is a DNA fit in the bosom of green. As citizens, we have to advocate for stronger ethics laws, demanding greater access to public records, and supporting institutional reforms that limit the ability of politicians to act without scrutiny and be dishonest at will. You see, time for us to make Satan's grandson the last scoundrel we allow to hold such office. We deserve better than that. Transparency initiatives such as open data programs and anti-corruption commissions can help deter dishonest behavior by making it more difficult for politicians to conceal their actions when citizens have access to information about how decisions are made, how public money is spent, and who influences politicians. It becomes harder for deceit to flourish. You see, accountability mechanisms such as recall elections or impeachment processes also provide tools for removing deceitful politicians from office before they can do significant damage. You see, once we observe these democratic processes, we will not have to be led to revolt and uprising, which can be catastrophic. You see, deceitful politicians become a serious threat to the integrity of democracy, but it is not insurmountable. Through critical thinking, informed voting, supporting independent media, engaging in civic action, and promoting transparency, citizens can play an active role in mitigating the influence of deceitful politicians. Ultimately, the strength of any democracy lies in the hands of its people. When citizens are vigilant, engaged, and committed to the truth, deceitful politicians will find it much harder to manipulate the system to their advantage. It is through collective effort and a shared commitment to accountability that the political landscape can be shaped in favor of honesty, integrity, and the common good. Let us make sure that Satan's grandson is gone and stay gone. That old nastiness has done us too much harm for selfish gains. Hashtag, don't forget folks, Keith gone and he not coming back. We have to always throw that into the atmosphere, throw it into the universe, keep throwing it out there, because we wants it to come back to us, gone and not coming back. You see, Satan's grandson teaches us that the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? It is on your day off the devil gets to work. So study your head. Folks, before I take off here today, before I actually take off here today, I just want to remind you that when you give someone something for free the first time, it creates, of course, some measure of appreciation. When you give someone something for free the second time, it creates anticipation. When you give someone something for free the third time, it creates expectation. The fourth time, it creates entitlement. They're getting accustomed to you coming. Remember, you are consistent now. So they're starting to relax. They become entitled. The fifth time, it creates what? Well, now shall they relax? Dependency. But guess what? When you don't give them the sixth time, it creates hatred. Because you get them accustomed to receiving, and all of a sudden you stop give, joke you're making. Now self you will feel their ire. You create hate, they create hatred for you. 1995 to 2022 has been a darn long time for all 5 stages to be accomplished by the beggy types of people many have morphed into at the hands of Satan's grandson, that old nastiness. The anticipation, expectation, and lumpenism of entitlement and dependency have reached their Waterloo. And because there is a new sheriff in town, hatred is the end point. I did tell you, the loads of you mentioned to you earlier in the game, go and take a purge. Sanitize, get rid of your old ways, as the same state of mind and behavior that got you to where you are today, beggy, entitled and dependent, of course, that's nowhere to be desirably, will not be the same mindset and behavior that will take you out. Stop sitting down and waiting for people to give you something. Those days are over. Failure to heed this admonition will cause many of you to eat the bread the devil need. Even generally in society, people tend to be kinder to dogs right now than to another human being. Because you see, a lot of you behave so ungratefully to so many people. You spoil your way, but you want to blame people for being mean today, for being selfish, for being greedy. No. All you do is look at how many of you treat your family members and relatives who lived abroad, sent barrels upon barrels for you. Now these same people are not in a position because of the economic downturn and they finally retired. You turn your backs on them complaining that they ain't taking you on. Those who return to Grenada and now reside here, many of you don't even visit them, put yourself out to do anything for them because they are no longer abroad to load you up with barrels. I know many of you know what I'm talking about. This entitlement and dependency syndrome must be treated like the plague it is, and a stop must be put to it. If you are strong and able-bodied and have a job, pay for your goddamn goods. Supermarkets and shops are opened for business. If you are not employed, the aftermath of burial has presented several opportunities for employment. Go and look for work. People need to move debris from their yard. They need to straighten back up their fence. They need to do things to get themselves back on track with their life. You see, go and look for work. The government does not have the responsibility to take care of you in perpetuity. Get up and get. Ask the number of people who the old nastiness victimized and squeezed out of mainstream society, how they made it for the period, the entire period, 1995 to 2022, for the most part. And take example from them. They behaved resiliently. Where there's a will, there's a way, and they survived. Go and get a job. And those of you who work, check your goddamn priorities. Stop paying for your wants and expect government to give you your needs. You see why I could not be in politics? Because I don't say what any one of you want to hear. I say what you need to hear and need to know. Remember, Satan's grandson teaches us the evil people of the world never take a day off. Why should you? Why should you? It is on your day off the devil gets to work. So study your head. I'm in, I'm out, and I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time and same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant and lifted. Have a safe and incident-free week that is coming. I want you to just be productive, folks. Productive. Because in truth and in fact, we cannot build an independent nation if we are not productively inclined. Now, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. To the level, folks. Thank you for joining. And all the very best. Take care of your wonderful selves this week and beyond.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people toward the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want to. Every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, or chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
Interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops without debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training, the tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now. www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island. Best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters. Friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for.